UFC is back with a heavyweight main event, Overeem versus Volkov. They are off the island and back in Vegas for Vegas 18. I think they should be in Vegas for a few months now, probably until March at least. March, maybe April. So all the fights will be back in Vegas in the small cage. Pretty deep card this weekend, guys. I'll be going over the main card. I know one fight dropped off, one changed, so I did update that here. Yeah, so it is a deep card. A lot of good fights, in my opinion. One did fall off that I would have liked to see, so I guess it's not as deep as it was from the start when it had 14 fights. From a betting standpoint, not the best card. I think a lot of underdogs do have chances in these fights, and there are some good value numbers out there. I'll get into it shortly. A bit of a recap before I get into the card. It was a tough stretch at the island. It's an island that I personally would like to forget. Worst stretch for me personally. My personal plays, capping the UFC, definitely in the last 13, 14 months. A lot of big upsets that I personally didn't see coming. Obviously starting with Poirier. Poirier beating Conor. I was on the Conor side there. Impressive win by Poirier. You know, I didn't see it happening, but happy for the guy. I'm happy for the guy. I love Poirier. I do think he's actually one of the true guys in the UFC. Warrior, brings a warrior spirit in every fight. Tough son of a bitch. So, you know, I like the guy. I'm happy to see him win. I just didn't see it happening. I really saw a lot of change in Conor. I did think he was really prepared for that fight. Just listening to all the interviews. But at the end of the day, you look at it and you think, you know, how focused really was he? You know, you have that theory, Justin Gaethje theory about the silk sheets. You know, you're waking up. And his life is just totally different now, right? A lot of privileges. How much does he want it? You know, and at the end of the day, I don't think I can factor that in too much. I factor in more, it's just Dustin had a good game plan. He attacked the leg. That's all it really was at the end of the day. Conor had a good first round. You know, I think Conor won the first round 10-9. There's no doubt about it. It's just Conor's leg got compromised. He didn't switch stances. And he got beat. And it was mainly just because of the leg kicks, and then Dustin finished him off with the boxing. So I don't really play too much into that whole, you know, Conor's life has changed, privileged life, etc., etc. I just look at it as Dustin had a good game plan. He attacked the leg, and that's it. So, yeah, surprised. But if you look at it at a whole, if you look at it after, not as surprised that Dustin Poirier won that one. And in the co-main there, I wasn't on Hooker. I did think Chandler could win it. I did give it out on the video, leaning Chandler's way. But I thought it would go deeper. My play on it was a smaller play. It wasn't a full unit, but I did have it going over 2.5 rounds. I thought it would go maybe even to a decision, and Hooker came out flat. It's hard. Those are the type of calls it's hard to see. It was very hard for me to see before I was analyzing the fight, you know, that Hooker was going to come out flat, right? That was very tough to see. You haven't seen it before. So, you know, kudos to Chandler. Excited to see what Chandler brings to the UFC moving forward. And he should have a big fight coming up. Maybe Gaethje, maybe Oliveira. I think Oliveira turned down the fight already, though. So I'm thinking Gaethje, he fights next, in my opinion. And Oliveira will fight Poirier. That should be fun. Let's look at an updated record, guys. Updated record, 44-20 best bets through 13 months. Still a very good record, 69%, guys. Going to try to get back up to 70 on the best bets, 70% on the best bets. Haven't seen anything that I like as a best bet level as of yet. That may change after the weigh-ins. All plays plus 37.2 units. Obviously dropped. We were over in the 40s before the island. So obviously down due to a few tough cards. Please like and subscribe, guys. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Obviously, NFL is done. If you haven't checked out my Super Bowl video, go check it out. Getting a lot of views on that, so excited for that. Yeah, and I'll be here every weekend with my UFC videos. I'm not going nowhere. Also, check out Systemsportscapping.com for subscription information. If you are interested in getting a subscription, you get all my personal plays in all sports each day. Or, I don't bet every day, but mostly almost every day I do have a play. Let's get back on track, guys. Let's get back on track here in Vegas. Couple fights already off the card, as I mentioned. One replacement fighter. I'll briefly go over that. But let's get right into the main event. Main event, guys. Volkov minus 160. I think it's going up a bit, maybe 170. Versus Overeem. Get some good plus money on Overeem. Plus 130, plus 140, depending where you're shopping around. Battle of two vets. You would have thought these two would have fought already. And when this fight got called, I thought, did these guys fight already? But no, they did not fight. Being in this sport for so long, if you look at the records, very high record. One's obviously a little older than the other. Overeem being in his 40s now and Volkov 32. But yeah, I just thought these two would have crossed paths by now, but no, that is not the case. Just to start off, definitely value with Overeem here. He's been fighting well as of late, coming off a big win over an up-and-coming fighter in Sakai. A lot of people thought Sakai could win, and I was on Overeem in that fight. A lot of people were buzzing about Sakai, but Overeem dominated him on the ground and got a ground and pound stoppage. And that's where he had the clear advantage. Standing, he didn't have really the advantage there. I think it was pretty close. But when Overeem brought him down, he just took over that fight. Now, Overeem's only 4-3 in his last 7 outings. But, they're top of the food chain guys, as you can see here. Nagano, Blades, Rosenstrike. And he is on a 2-fight win streak currently, trying to go for that last run on the title. Volkov's been just as impressive, 5-2 in his last 7 fights. Also a win over Walt Harris in his last fight. Both guys have wins over Walt Harris. Not too sure how much that says about them, but he's been struggling, Walt Harris, as of late. Blades was just a horrible matchup for him. Blades just wrestled him and controlled him there. Good wins over Hardy, Verdum, Struve, and Nelson. Those are some of his highlight wins recently. We all know Volkov and his striking, right? He uses reach, can pick you apart. And here he won't have a reach advantage. But his fighting style, he doesn't show tons of power. He showed some power in his previous fight, obviously with that kick to Walt Harris. He was able to stop him with that very impressive kick. But he really isn't known for his power. He likes to stretch out fights. Right, his average fight time is 15 minutes, so that says a lot. He's more of a volume striker, uses kicks, punches, kickboxing type of style, and his takedown defense isn't that bad. It's pretty decent, so that's something to look at here. And he also try to get you against the cage and use his reach against the cage, pound you. Good control also in the center of the octagon. He's good at doing that as well. This fight's interesting because we know it is a 5-round fight. Will Overeem wrestle? I think he has the grappling advantage in this. And this is where he showed it against Sakai. He showed it in previous fights earlier, but in other fights he's been trying to stand and bang with guys like for one instance, obviously, against Rosenstrike, right? He didn't use his grappling. I like to see him use his grappling more, but he likes to put on exciting fights, right? However, in this case, if I think he's going to just stand and bang the whole time, he's going to lose out on volume to Volkov, right? Smaller cage, I think, benefits Volkov's style a little bit here as well. Overeem, in my opinion, will just need to grapple to get a victory here. And he could do that. He can grapple you, wear you out. She shows he can go 5 rounds. I'm not worried about that. We know Volkov can go 5 rounds. Lean maybe a little bit on the cardio to Volkov just due to the age difference. But personally here, my opinion, it's a very simple game plan for Overeem. I think it should be, and it's try to get him down and grapple and try to ground and pound Volkov. That's my opinion on path to victory. But will he do that, right? Will he do that, or will he try to stand and bang with Volkov? And will Volkov be able to stuff the takedowns? He's pretty good at that. He's pretty good at that. He's pretty good at getting up as well. So we'll see how Overeem looks there. But yeah, it should be a good fight. I think the line is a little bit off. I think Volkov maybe, I'm not going to say it's a pick-em type of fight, but I think Volkov should be the favorite. I agree. Maybe more of a minus 120 to minus 140. So if you're betting Volkov at minus 170 to 190, I see on some books, you're not getting any value there. But if you ask me who I think wins this fight, I'm leaning to Volkov. I haven't made my mind up as of yet, because like I do, I like to look at the weigh-ins. But as of right now, looking at this fight and everything I mentioned, I'm leaning Volkov's way. Co-main event, guys. Co-main event. Hagen minus 450 versus the vet Edgar plus 350. A very high price against a veteran like Edgar, Frankie Edgar, right? I'm not running to the window on this one to bet it. Hagen 450 is high. Sure, Edgar's at the end of his career. But talk about a gamer and a guy that just shows up and fights, right? He's fought everyone in this division. Sure, he's lost to top guys. He's a champion as well. But he's also beat the top guys in the world, right? He's coming off a big win versus Munoz. Questionable. Maybe a draw or lean Munoz in that fight, but he did get the win. So he's still a factor in this division, guys. Hagen came back after a tough loss to Sterling with a win over a tough Marlon Moraes. Was very impressive with a stoppage in that one. I love Hagen, don't get me wrong. Could be the future of this division. However, that price is just way off against a veteran like Frankie. Edgar's a tough and experienced guy, right? To me personally, what I would be looking at here is more like if Frankie wins this fight, it's going to be by decision, right? So if Frankie wins this, it's going to be a grind it out. Maybe he decided to wrestle and grapple, and that's how he won this fight. If they're going to just stand and bang, Hagen's going to win this fight, and Hagen could knock out Frankie. But I'm not laying no minus 450 to find out. And to be honest, if you ask me how I see this fight going from an outcome standpoint, I would lean more to the decision. But, it's very close. If Hagen comes out like his last fight, he could knock out Frankie. A lot of miles on Frankie, right? That's something also to look at. Hagen is obviously more of a younger buck. A lot of praise around him, up and coming guy. But my play, I would look at this to go some rounds, right? Over the 2.5. I do think Hagen gets this done, but Frankie plus 350 is juicy. I just can't pull the trigger on it. So if you're gonna bet Hagen, you're gonna want to bet on the outcome. So if you think he's gonna get the knockout, you're gonna get plus money. You think he's gonna win by decision, you're gonna get plus money. That's where you're gonna want to look here, and not on that 450. Next fight here, Pantoja minus 130 versus Cap, however you want to pronounce it, plus 110. A lot of talk about Cap. Some fun highlights with power and good striking. I'm not too clear or too sure on his ground game just because I haven't seen it, so I think it could be exploited. Rising champion, and this is his first fight in the UFC, right? Pantoja's a great fighter. We just don't know what version will show up with Pantoja. And that's why I think the line is it's a little low here. He does have 2 losses in his last 3. So that's something to consider here. Lost a tough decision to Askarov in his last time out. Good win previous to that over Matt Schnell. He had a nice big KO. A lot of hype around Cap, but I just haven't seen a full MMA arsenal from Cap as of yet to bet him here. Pantoja may want to use some grappling in this one, in my opinion. If he's just standing and banging with Cap, Cap's known for the power. He's known for his power and his striking. I don't suggest that. I think Pantoja, grinds this up maybe against a cage, grapples, try to wrestle with Cap, and I think Pantoja can get the victory like that. This would be a fight more to watch and enjoy, in my opinion, and see what Cap really has and how he handles his UFC debut. I don't love betting against or with guys that make their debut, to be honest, guys. And it's not like they're throwing him some, easy starter. Pantoja, they're throwing him a top 5 guy in this division, and it's tough to say, oh, yeah, there's value with plus money on Cap, but we haven't seen it in the UFC. Rising in the UFC is a big difference. He hasn't fought anyone, that appealing looking at his Sherdog or his previous fights. So I can't get there. If you ask me to who I'm playing in this, it would be Pantoja. But I would suggest not to bet it, guys. Watch it, see how Cap looks in the UFC debut. He could come out, he could be the next guy, and he could knock out Pantoja. But I haven't seen it. I'm not betting it. Lean Pantoja. Next fight I was looking forward to is going to be Stamen versus Ewell, Andre Ewell. And I think Ewell got COVID off the card. So in comes Askar, plus 350, UFC debut, Stamen minus 400. Not going to spend too much time on this. I think Stamen against Ewell had that clear advantage. He was going to wrestle his way to victory, and I think he was going to beat Ewell if he decided not to just stand and bang with him. And, looking at this fight, obviously Askar took this on short notice, debut, not tons of film on the guy. He is 11-1. However, none of those fights were in the UFC, LFA, and a few other organizations. I just don't see a path to victory for Askar. Big step up in name value against a Stamen. Askar will want to keep this standing from what I've seen in his fights. He's pretty well-rounded, but his standing, his standing and striking is his main go-to here. So I like Stamen to win this fight. We're not going to lay the minus 400, of course. So this is probably a fight to stay away from. But if you guys that play those big parlays, which I don't suggest, but if you're playing them for fun, throw Stamen in there. If you ask me how this outcome goes, I'm leaning towards a decision just because 7 of his last fights went there. And what he likes to do is just control the fight, get it to the ground, control it there. But he could get this guy to the ground and pound him out. I'm not going to say he's going to submit the guy because he doesn't really submit guys. And he doesn't really knock out guys on the feet. So, yes, Stamen could get him to the ground and wear him out and ground and pound him. That is definitely a possibility. So I'm not all in on the decision, but I would play the outcome by decision on Stamen. Last fight here, guys, I'm going to go over. It's a good one. Diego Ferreira minus 120 versus Dariush plus 100. Fun one to open the card, or I think it maybe got moved up one. I'm not too sure, just because the fight got already dropped from the main card, so I'm expecting another one to come up. Both guys have been winning fights as of late. 6 in a row for Ferreira and 5 for Dariush. These guys actually fought before, guys. 2014. I don't really look into that too much, but Dariush won by decision. Ferreira is sole. See, with Ferreira, he's obviously fought some big guys. Obviously fought Poirier. That was back also. That was right after the Dariush fight, actually. And he lost that fight. So they had back-to-back losses, but then he went on a 6-fight winning streak. With Ferreira, I think he's good all over. I think he's better, like a better all-around fighter than Dariush. But Dariush, he has the knockout power. He has that black belt on the ground, but Ferreira also does, right? Ferreira also has that good ground game. I think this is a very tough fight to call. I personally haven't pulled the trigger as of yet. I'm thinking they will stand. There'll be a stand-up battle just because both guys have good ground games. So I do think this fight will be on the feet for the most part. And that would be a close fight. If they're just fighting on the feet, it's going to be close. I think maybe lean Fiera on the feet there. But like I said, I haven't pulled the trigger. I'm going to look at the weigh-ins on this one. Remember, this is in a smaller cage. I don't see it going the distance unless for some reason they play it safe and there is that grappling. It could. So I lean the over 2.5. But it's not something I got to as of yet. This is going to be a fun one, though, guys. It's going to be a fun one. Fiera is not as active as Dariush. Fiera usually fights maybe once a year. Some fighters like that. Some fighters like fighting just once a year. So that's going to be something to keep in mind as well. Dariush obviously more active, and he has been rolling as of late, but hasn't fought a guy as good as Fiera, in my opinion, recently. Yeah, I'm going to lean Fiera here on the line. I haven't pulled the trigger as of yet, but I'll be watching the weigh-ins closely on this one. All right, guys, we're back in Vegas for a while now. I'll be pumping out these videos each week. Thanks for tuning in. Check out systemsportscapping.com. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy Super Bowl weekend and the fights. Take care.